All right, guys, we are privileged to be here with Steve Ozer, the global brand marketing manager for action figures at Mattel. Steve, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
It's a real pleasure. I'm excited to pick your brain here a little bit about the new generation ring. Just Mattel, how things work at Mattel in general. But I'm curious, man, what does the global brand marketing manager exactly do?
I meddle in a lot of action figure lines and try to make things that you guys want come to fruition. So at the core of my job, I manage several WWE lines. So that's managing everything from concept through sell through at retail. Like every step of the way, I have some sort of involvement and I'm overseeing things. On top of that, I do have an advisory role on collector and DTC items, which this ring is direct to consumer. That we'll be talking about later, the arena. So act as kind of a voice of the people on the inside, really, and I get to at least have my ideas and your ideas through me heard to all the action figure teams.
Yeah, I think it's great. You're very active in the boards. I know I'm a Patreon member of the Major Brothers, so I'm in their Facebook group and always seeing stuff that you're posting, and Robert's in there as well, pretty actively, especially right now. But how did you get started at Mattel? Did you go to school to be in the toy industry, or did it just kind of fall in your lap? And how did you get into Mattel specifically?
So I originally, when I started college way back when, I was going to school for computer science, and quickly into it, I was like, this is not for me. Like the other students were like all about it, passionate. It was oozing out of them. And for me, like I was okay at it and it was fine. And I was thinking like, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? And it definitely wasn't. So I took a long break. And reassessed and, just went back to and focused on the things that I loved, which were, pop culture, WWE specifically, wrestling, action figures. As a matter of fact, when I did, drop out of college at that point, I went immediately to Toys R Us and I bought every bone crunching action figure that they had, like one of each character. And just like completely all in for WWE at that point, after like a little bit of a hiatus period at the end of high school, at the beginning of college. So anyway, took a break and then finally went back to school, got a business degree with the toy industry specifically in mind. Cool. Also, if I would have done something else in like the movie industry, entertainment, something along the lines of in the pop culture realm. But my eye was always on the prize of Mattel and WWE, right? At that point. Right. That's what I wanted. And miraculously, it worked out. I networked. I moved from Florida to California to get closer. And I made a name for myself on social media by being a positive member of the community, Action Figure Attack on Instagram, going to conventions, covering news, things of that nature, something that like someone like Toy Shiz does such a good job of now. That was me in a lesser form back in the day. And I got to know Bill McKenna at Comic-Cons and Dave Vonner and a bunch of guys. So finally, I had networked with Dave Jackson, who briefly worked with me at Zico Coconut Water. And you might know Dave Jackson as a marketing manager on the AW line now. He was at Mattel for a while and he was leaving. And he said, hey, are you still interested in potentially working for Mattel? And I was like, absolutely. So he facilitated getting me the interview. And then throughout the interview process, which was a crazy marathon interview day with like tons of people at Mattel, Bill and Dave Vonner come in and they're like, I know this guy. So, they put in a good word for me. And then, I had to prove myself to everyone else who didn't know me. And it worked out, it's like somehow miraculously, like the dream position did work out for me. Like I said, I would have done other things, worked on other brands. I just wanted to get here, but I'm very fortunate and blessed that, it was a rough path, but I got here somehow.
That's so cool. That's great to hear that it was like a dream of yours. I had my dream job. I went to school for radio. my dream job was ESPN. I got in there and it was a nightmare. So it's cool to hear people like there's only a handful of people I think I know that like are doing what they went to college for. It's great to hear. And you're so passionate about the figures and the lines and things like that. I did have one more question about like your career at Mattel. What is a day in a life like for you?
Long.
Especially right now. I asked you, on air or off air, I was like, you guys getting overtime for all these interviews you're doing?
It's interesting because you have your day-to-day business duties, right? So it could be anything, lineup meetings, costing meetings, product reviews, meeting with the sales team. It's like everything you can think of going into this, because the marketing managers drive the business, and they have to touch everything and sign off on everything and make sure you're on schedule and on time, and retail programs, the whole 9 yards, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like there's a lot of things that might not be so fun involved in it, but then the benefit is like the final product, right? Getting the final product that everybody wants, and that's it's long. And then on top of it, I'm a real legit collector and fan, and I'm a legit member of the community. I know some people come out of the woodwork sometimes, no shade to them, but come out of the woodwork sometimes and they say how passionate they are, but it's their job, right? It's their job, and they do have passion, but I was here always, right? It's like you could look back and I was always involved in some way, and that means I never get to shut down, so it's like I'm on Instagram afterwards in my free time. If I have 10 free minutes, I'm on social or on the boards and looking at things, and even if I don't have time to respond, I'm reading things, I'm watching what our competitors are doing, who I also collect. You guys see me post if you follow me on social. In my stories, it's like if I get new, Hasbro stuff or NECA or Super 7, I'm posting that stuff. So I'm an all-around industry supporter, and it's legitimate. But that, like I said, that means I don't get a lot of rest, because I'm always involved in some way, interacting, taking in information, hunting for myself, taking in knowledge, you name it, and then all the business stuff. But then the fun things like lineups, I get to do those as well. And work with Bill and our designer on basics and all those other lines, and that's the fun part of the job, plus seeing the final product and seeing everyone's reactions.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna let DJ take over here for a couple minutes and ask. I fired away real quick here. I'll let DJ take over for a few minutes.
Yeah, that was a perfect transition to my first question. Is take us through the thought process of making a lineup.
So my approach is, and what I did when I started here is, I pulled, first of all, what I did when I was a little kid. I would do fantasy lineups, whether it be for action figure lines or for video games, right? I would just be like, these are the characters that should be in it, or these are the superstars. So that was one thing, just pulling from my mind as a child. And then secondly, just taking a look at the patterns that I saw in other action figure lines of what a long-term successful strategy for lineups was, and then making sure that there's something for everybody, right? Sometimes it doesn't work out, but the goal is you want 2 strong anchor talents, most likely main roster. You want female talent represented, right? You want diversity. You want NXT talent. You want legends, right? So you want to make sure each lineup has a sprinkling of those things to make it widely appealing. And that way, when they come out, it's like you're not having 6 waves go by and somebody saying well, there was nothing for me for half a year, right? I want to make sure that there's always something for everybody. And like I said, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes a lineup gets blown up. Someone gets released. There's an issue with development and we have to pivot. Things happen. But that's the goal we set out to do is create lineups that are really appealing for every portion of our consumer.
You guys do a really good job of that, because sometimes I'm like, man, I need a break. And my wallet needs a break, and it's just line after line. I'm like, damn, I need that guy. I need another version. Macho Man is a perfect example. Every time you guys put out a Macho Man, I'm like, or Ultimate Warrior, I'm like, and those are 2 of my favorites of all time. I'm like, I don't need another Macho Man. I don't need another Ultimate Warrior. And then you guys pull something out of your hat where it's oh, I didn't even realize I needed that. The Royal Rumble Ultimate Warrior is a perfect example. With the face paint coming off and the yellow IC title. I'm like, I thought I was all done with Ultimate Warriors. And then the WrestleMania 12 one comes out and I'm just like, oh man, I can't stop.
Yeah.
Or like you just said, like people get released. Like I'm still heartbroken not getting the Rafter Sting that was about to come out. I was like, no, I wanted that figure.
Yeah, some heartbreaking moments for sure. But I mean, if it makes you feel better, since I've been on the brand, I think we've rescued every rescuable figure there is of someone who's under contract. Like I think there's none left. So every figure that went to the cutting room floor that we couldn't do for one reason or another, I think we've managed to get out. Like Wendy Richter, the return Jake the Snake with the vest. Harley Race came out. I know maybe that's a sore subject for some who didn't get one, but like the King Duggan figure, like all those were lost figures that we were able to get out. So even though something might not happen, who knows what the future holds? And maybe that Sting figure can be a possibility one day.
All right.
10 or 15 years from now.
I'll be alive.
I got two questions just to piggyback off what we kind of talked about here real quick. Mm-hmm. You guys kind of just celebrated the 10-year anniversary of Mattel and WWE being together with the toy lines. What do you think? That's like unprecedented. That's like a pretty good relationship, pretty long relationship. What do you guys think has been the success or the reasoning behind, why has the line been so successful? Why has it lasted so long?
I think, it's similar to a comic book line, to where you have a brand in WWE that has, eras that are appealing to everyone currently, right? Yep. So, whether you can have fallen off the wagon and not watched WWE since, the 80s or the 90s, and then you go to Target and you see, that cream of the crop Macho Man, and you're like, what? This came out. And it only takes one thing to like suck you into collecting, right? And not only collecting, but that could light the spark that makes you watch programming again. Like, I love this, right? So it's like the beauty of WWE and various comic book lines is there's always something to pull from that is going to be appealing to every single age bracket and segment of consumer, collector, brand lover, whatever you want to call it. So WWE is so rich with that, right? You have all these eras with varying levels of popularity, and there's somebody out there who has an affinity for it. So as long as you take that approach of like trying to deliver something for everybody, like that's like longevity there, right? Like you can deliver forever if you do it right.
Yeah, it's so true. I've told this story before. Is like I was kind of in a dark period of watching wrestling, and I have a 10-year-old son, and this was a while back. This is like probably 8 years ago at this point, maybe even a little bit sooner. But we're walking through Toys R Us, and I saw the Mr. Perfect WrestleMania basic, and I was just kind of like, I was giving it a hard stare, and I had collected before. I collected Jacks and before, and my wife was like, "Just grab it. You need to reward yourself for all the hard work you do." And now look at behind me. That's like what that was my gateway drug. So that basic Mr. Perfect, and then it got me back into watching again, and it like exactly like you said. So you guys are doing something right for sure. And I'm not just saying this because you're on the show, but like I have a couple of Jacks in the case behind me, and the Mattels are just like hands down the greatest wrestling figures of all time, hands down. I mean, obviously they're not all perfect, but they're better than what the other options are out there and stuff like that. So just real quick, and then I'll let DJ fire off some more. You kind of touched on talent getting released. Now, when that happened, obviously that's a big subject right now in the wrestling world. There's a lot going on with that. For example, Bray Wyatt. We saw a brand new Bray Wyatt get released, or the proto images for Bray, Burnt Fiend at San Diego Comic-Con at home. Now, when something like that happens, is he too far along in the or is he too? Was it too far along in the process? Like, are we still going to get that figure? Just using that as an example. And when that kind of stuff happens, do you guys have stuff in your back pocket where we can say, oh, we could do this, we can throw this, Alexa Bliss in instead? Or is there do you guys usually have somebody in your back pocket just in case something like that happens? Or does it depend on the situation?
It's situational. It depends on how they released, why they were released, contract, right? So there's something called a sell-off period, right? And that's built into a contract. Like, what is that time frame, right? Is the product within that time frame? Is there a reason beyond just a regular release that, you know, we actually just shouldn't make this figure, you know, like because something happened. So you have to consider all those things. So really, like at the end of the day, if it's just a release and there's no problems and it's within the contractual sell-off period, we can move forward and get that out, because there's investment of time and possibly tooling, you know, things of that nature. If we have to pivot, it's like, you know, I told you about the rescue figures before. So sometimes there are figures available that we may have tooled up or whatever, and they didn't get released for whatever reason. You can fall back on some of those, or maybe you just do something along the lines of a repaint. You know, someone that you can accomplish that you have time for, because new tooling obviously takes a lot more time, right? Because you're gonna have to do sculpt, get sculpt approval, create the tooling, like the whole 9 yards. But if you're using existing tooling, that cuts a lot of the time out needed, and you can pivot there. You still might have delays or whatever. Maybe packaging was printed and you have to pivot, and there might be some slight delays. But largely that's like transparent to collectors, right? It's like they don't know that it was delayed 3 weeks. They just know Ringside puts a pre-order up and it's available mid-May, and that's the end of that. So it's kind of okay there. But yeah, it's all situational, and it is difficult when it happens and you have to pivot. But I mean, that's just the name of the game. WWE is such a fast-moving company and form of entertainment, and it's not like a comic book or a movie line where you can get like a script or storyboards like way ahead of time and start developing. It's like things happen on TV, and then we have to react to it. So it's kind of why this brand is so exciting.
Gotcha. DJ, what do you got? Before we get into the new gen ring, what do you got? You got anything else to fire off here?
Not new gen yet. So again, we're like, this is like I don't know if I knew what was going to happen in the conversation or what, but it transitions once again into my next question. Is there a moment in wrestling that is one of your favorite moments in wrestling that we have not had in figure form yet?
Mega Powers for sure. Like that was something that, you know, got me into wrestling, and I know it's special for a lot of people. The snake bite with Jake and Macho Man, which, you know, you can partially recreate now because we have the blue flame tights Jake coming.
That's right.
What else? I mean, you know, there's so much we haven't done. There's a lot of Shawn Michaels from WrestleManias that we haven't even touched upon yet. He's Mr. WrestleMania, you know. So, you know, one of my personal checklists is to try to get every single Shawn from WrestleMania out.
Right.
Yeah. It's limitless. It's literally limitless, and the possibilities are all like strong, as you mentioned, like Warrior and Macho Man. Like it's like, you can do great, appealing Warrior and Macho Man figures from now until the end of time, I feel like, you know? So yeah, I would love to keep diving into those things and chipping away and getting some titles out. Yeah, go for it.
Night of the Skywalkers.
Oh my gosh, of course. You know, and it's like, you know, a lot of my answers go back to WWE because that's what I grew up with predominantly.
No, I'm an old guy.
We have access to, but I mean, I was too, right? I was too, and then those are things that we look at when we look at those talent availability lists. What can we do? You know, like there's great stuff coming from WCW and the old days as well, and yeah, I want to make everything. Like, you know, Bill makes fun of me sometimes. He's like, "You want everything." I'm like, "Yeah, of course,
right? Yes,
you know." And I'm not doing it irresponsibly, but I do want everything, and I know a lot of you guys want everything, so I'll keep trying.
Definitely, you just mentioned 2 Macho Mans that I would need: Mega Powers and the Snake Bite.
Exactly,
nice Snake Bite 2-pack. We ever gonna get figures with blood? I mean, I know you guys are a toy company, obviously, but like ringside exclusive or anything like that?
No, I mean, you know, maybe things change one day, right? But it's not looking like that's going to be possible. I think, you know, as a toy guy, I don't have it here. Sam Jackson from Jurassic has an arm torn off with some blood on it. So it's not out of the question that we can't do it, right? But it's like, you know, WWE is a PG company, and you know, it's how they present themselves, and they have advertisers and partners involved. And you know, it is what it is right now. So I don't see that happening unless there's a drastic shift in you know, how WWE wants to move forward. But you know, I can say we've asked before, and it was just like, yeah, no, it's not possible right now. So we'll see as I'll gauge temperature over time, and if we can make something happen, we will. But I wouldn't hold out hope at this time.
Sure. That Jurassic Park figure is like one of the only things I missed out on San Diego Comic-Con day. The one you're talking about with his.
And that was the exact opposite. That's what I got out of
it. I got Slaughter. My focus was on Sergeant Slaughter that day. And I got him, and then I went back, and I kind of forgot about Jurassic Park for a little while because there's so much going on that day. And then I went, and it was gone. And I'm like, oh man.
And this is the exact opposite for me. I was clicking, and no Sarge. Oh wait, I can still scroll down and hurry up and get Sam. So Sam Jackson. So yeah.
So cool figure. I mean, I love. That they have the 6-inch version as well in the Amber collection. Mm-hmm. Definitely like the 3 3/4 inch, but for me, 6-inch scale is a sweet spot.
Yeah, I got last year's Nedry in the Barbasol can. That was such a good figure. And I was like, you know what? Let's keep the 3.75 inch going here this year, and it just didn't happen. I love the 6-inch. I just don't have room in the collection for him right now. But all right, let's get to whatever is on everybody's mind. The whole reason you're saying yes to every single interview that anybody asks you for, we're a perfect example of that. The new generation ring.
Arena. I even misspoke early. Yeah. Everyone's focused on the ring. So it is the new generation Arena with light up entrance, everybody. Don't forget about the light up entrance.
I saw.
That's what we're loving is the light up entrance.
Bill got the prototype for that today too, right?
So we had shipped the prototype off to China for them to further develop and fine tune, and they've already improved some things about it. So as we're nearing the end of this campaign, we wanted to get that back so we can do some things. He posted some videos. I'm going to try to get a hold of it so I can go live on Instagram at some point. So we wanted that in hand to really show off and be able to interact virtually with everybody. So fingers crossed that happens in the next few days.
It looks. I love that you guys are doing this. I've talked on our pod before that on Peacock Superstars is on there. I'm watching. I'm just I'll throw them on in the background while I'm working from home or something like that. And once you guys announced this, it just brought me right back to that spot. But I'm curious, what made you guys decide the new generation ring? Was there other things on the table that just didn't end up happening? Was it this was the idea from the get-go? How did it all come to fruition?
So if you think back, we had that gigantic entrance stage that we showed at Access and Comic-Con a couple years ago. And that was us gauging the temperature. Like, is there interest in something huge and something that would be really expensive? Mm-hmm. And, there were some learnings from the feedback, from that price gauging, like what people were willing to pay, just interest in general and the hashtag movement, about the stage, which I don't quite remember what the hashtag was, but there was one. So we got to work and we explored how much would it cost us to tool up something that massive? What would we have to charge people to actually be profitable and not have a loss with it? How do we bring this to the public? You know what I mean? There was no Mattel Creations, at that point, and Matty Collector was long forgotten. And retail is not going to carry something, that massive anymore. And, honestly, it would be a slow mover at retail, right? They want things that are going to move in and out off pegs and off shelf. So we were just thinking, how do we do this? Is this the right thing out of the gate? Should we get there? Meanwhile, Mattel Creations is being fleshed out separately, right? So, I'm hearing this. So we're kind of dual pathing. Mattel Creations is being fleshed out and developed, and my team is trying to figure out what could live on there. Is this the time for a crowdfunded execution? How big should it be? How expensive should it be? And we explored tons of different options, and we eventually landed on, this neon entrance concept as kind of the centerpiece of it. And the thought was let's start with the basics and building out this world of WWE. So it would be the entrance and the ring. Figure, of course, should be included. And as far as the era goes, It's called New Generation, right? But I mean, it debuted at WrestleMania 8, right? So Warrior, Flair, Macho Man, Road Warriors, all these guys like used it, and then it was immediately used in content, regular content beyond the pay-per-views after that. So that was its debut, and it stretched out through, pre-Attitude Era, early Attitude Era. So it was kind of a nice chunk of time where you have like so many heavy hitters from both Golden Era through New Generation through some Attitude Era guys using this thing. So it held some weight, it held some weight, and a lot of good memories, a lot of good superstars involved. And, iconic, like, featured in some video games, and, so there's familiarity there. So we thought it was a widely appealing offering, to test the waters of a higher price point crowdfund. And, it makes it more accomplishable because, while there's tons of tooling involved and it is expensive, it's not quite as insanely as expensive as that gigantic entrance stage would have been. So, testing the waters for sure was something a little bit more palatable at $250.
Right. And it's not as big as some of like what HasLab's been doing. That's one of the big things I've seen is people complaining about the size of the ring and stuff. And then I heard Robert saying, it's going to be in a box. The only really time it's taking up a ton of space is when you actually take it out to like display it or play with your kids or do some figure photography. I've backed it. DJ's still on the fence. Give us like a 30-second or 45-second, 1 minute pitch to DJ about why he should back this. Because I've been on him. Like, come on,
I'll
man.
be the guy at the table at the park with the coffee.
Oh my
mug.
God. I don't want to.
I'm like, man, they take Klarna now. Like they're doing all these things. That Macho Man. Like, there's just so many reasons why you should back this.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great opportunity, number one, right? Like this is the beginning stages of something really special. And if it's successful, it clears the path for more great executions like this. The value at this point, I would hope, is clearly there. $250 for 2 Ultimate figures out of the gate, not even counting Doink the Clown, plus the ring, premium soft goods on it, plus that first time ever and only time ever New Generation entrance stage, right? Fully functioning lights, multiple light modes, fabrics, curtains on it, the whole 9 yards. So premium offering, low run, a great item, great opportunity. And, who knows what's to come after this? Like, really, like, now's our chance to truly build out this 6/7 inch scale world of WWE like never before. We have limitless opportunities in front of us, but we do need this to be successful to create a clear path for us to do that stuff in the future. So that's more of a professional pitch. And like, speaking of a collector, right? Like being in the weeds, like we know how hot Ultimate Edition figures are now. We know, how difficult rings can get to find at a reasonable price, like after they've disappeared, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just like, this just seems like an item that, as any longtime collector would see, would be something that it's worth buying into and having, so you're not having to go back after the fact and getting FOMO and trying to find something or even piece it together on the secondary market, because it's probably going to be more expensive to attempt to even buy 1 or 2 of the figures than the whole thing is right now.
That's one of the sayings on our show, actually, is like, this is like when something's coming out, this is the cheapest it's ever going to be. Like that's one of the things that we tell our listeners.
Yep. Yeah. It's a hot market right now, not only wrestling figures, but collecting in general. Yeah. And will that bubble burst at some point? I'm sure, but I don't think you'll ever be able to acquire these altogether at $250 after this campaign ends.
I don't think so.
If this succeeds, when it succeeds, let's say that. Let's put the positive juju out there.
Let's see what we're at now while you talk to me. I'm going to check.
I got it up right now. 2,700 and because I was trying to get DJ to do it before you came on. It's 2,750. So we're in a good
55%. We just crossed 55%. So that's exciting.
If this or when this succeeds, in Steve Ozer the collector's mind, what would you love to see next? I've got some ideas that I want to bring to the table, but I'm curious what you would think, like what would be on your mind to do, with this succeeding, what would be next?
Not in any particular order, but I mean, guardrails, pads for around the ring, mats, different entrance stages from different, eras. I see everyone talking about Attitude Era, of course. SmackDown Fist, Ovaltron, all these entrances. Maybe something modern if we can get in early enough, right? Because one of the issues with modern is they move out so quickly, right? So if we can get in early enough, something modern, something NXT based would be amazing. Interview sets could be really cool. Cage accessories from classic blue to the modern to Hell in the Cell in red or silver. Elimination Chamber, anything, as we go on and test the waters, we'll be obviously interacting with everybody like we always do and paying attention. And it's like, you can accomplish anything with a crowdfund execution like this if you have that perception that you can reach those goals, because it isn't free to run a crowdfund and develop things and do all this. So you still need initially that, okay, this is something people seem to want. Let's try this and try to get there. So you have to place a good safe bet on that, and then hopefully through communication and marketing, the people will come.
I would love to see a Lex Express with Lex Luger with the red, white, and blue pants, like the big, I don't remember what, like almost the Zubaz pants.
So would my manager. My manager wants the Lex Express
with the Yokozuna.
Sure, he can be an
do the USS Intrepid. Yeah,
full Intrepid. That's come up before in these podcasts. The full Intrepid.
It'd be like the GI Joe ship there that none of us got as kids. USS that we all flag.
Wanted. Yeah. Come on, man. Don't you want to give me projects that we can actually make happen?
Yeah, I give them the Night of the Skywalkers, and you give them the USS Flag. Like what?
So I'm gonna get DJ to back it before Friday. I'm gonna keep the pressure on. I'm gonna keep bullying him to get it done.
I mean, that Macho Man alone, right?
Exactly. You're never gonna get.
Got a lot of Macho Mans.
That's the Macho Man where I was one of the Macho.
I'm not saying that I don't want any more Macho Mans. I'm just saying I'm saying that as a good thing. Like I have a lot of Macho Mans as a good thing.
His final WrestleMania appearance in gear that we couldn't possibly afford anywhere else. I mean, that's why he's here, right? And that's why he hasn't happened yet. Someone asked me on the forums a few months ago, can we ever get a WrestleMania 10 Macho Man realistically? And I looked at it, I was like, oh, how can we possibly afford that? I mean, everything is structured, right? Ultimates are like $30-ish bucks. What can we do to possibly make this Macho Man? And I was like, I don't think it'll ever happen. But then now here we are, and it can happen. Yeah.
DJ, got any other questions about the new gen arena or the crowdfund arena?
I was just gonna ask a really funny general question, really. So you get to, I'm sure you get to sometimes work with the talent, right? With the WWE talent. I like the funny story. Give us a funny story with somebody with one of the folks.
There was a segment. I think it was the night after Survivor Series in LA a few years ago, where Drake Maverick had an accident in his pants. Yep. So we were visiting backstage on the Raw following that Survivor Series, and they were doing a pre-tape in the back of where Drake was in line at catering, getting his food, and everybody is snickering and laughing at him. Right. And I think I saw 92 takes of that segment of just over and over and over again. And I was like, holy smokes. And the show's going live and everything. So that was a cool experience and pretty funny. And Drake was a pro and nailed it every single time.
Nice.
Nailed it. But that was a great experience. But it was wild then to finally see it on TV, what I had just seen repeated over and over and over again, live and in person. So cool moment. I guess I broke kayfabe. That wasn't live. It didn't really happen.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten heat from a wrestler or a superstar about their figure?
I have
given you a hard time.
Because I'm a lovable guy, so they're not mad at me often. No, I think not directed at me. I think there's sometimes frustration when somebody doesn't get a figure or whatever. There was a superstar, and I won't get into who or whatever, but there was a superstar who was on TV, and then they were pulled off TV for some reason, right? So we put the figure on hold. There was something scheduled. It wasn't announced, but it was penciled in, so we put it on hold. Then they came back. And we put them back in again, like immediately back in, but didn't announce it, but they were penciled in. And then they were released. And then afterwards they were like, come on, like all this time and I never got a figure. And I'm like, well, I mean, it kind of would have happened, but weird circumstances kept like pulling that person out. So, that was the closest I had to like an upset superstar. But I know Bill has had a couple upset people here and there.
I don't really have anything else. I got one fun question, but DJ, you got anything else to fire off at?
That was my fun. I have my fun question.
All right. My fun question has nothing to do with wrestling. We usually do these. We pull them from our friend Poddex. You guys can save. We haven't used this code in a long time. I think it's 15% over at poddex.com if you're running a podcast. Steve, would you rather blow up 100 balloons or lick 500 envelopes?
500 envelopes.
Really?
Have you blown up multiple balloons before?
Yeah, and I have asthma, and I just hate the lick. Like, I hate that taste of envelopes. Your tongue gets all dry.
I don't mind. It's fine. You didn't say no water or anything. Like,
true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, but blowing up balloons is horrible.
DJ, what would you pick? What would you pick, DJ?
Man,
I'd pick the balloons.
You picked them, even with asthma. You're picking the balloons.
Yeah, like the cup of water. I'll have my inhaler next to me. I'll be good.
Yeah, I think I'm going with the envelopes.
All right, I'm the odd man out here.
Yes,
I'm the odd man.
You and your Snicker hating self. Steve, he don't like Snickers. Steve.
Why are we even talking right now?
Yeah,
we did top 5 candies. Snicker. It's not that I don't like them. They didn't make my top 5 for.
They didn't make his top 5
Halloween candy.
Halloween candy.
Reese's Pieces.
Oh yeah, Reese's Pieces, but peanut butter M&Ms are better than Reese's Pieces.
I'll give them a try and see.
All right.
Taste test.
Steve, tell everybody where they can buy the ring. I'm sorry, the arena. Share your Instagram.
Good catch.
Put it all out there for everybody.
Sure. You can, reach out to me through my Instagram at Action Figure Attack, on Twitter at Action Fig Attack, Action Figure Attack on the WrestlingFigures.com forums. And don't forget to back the new generation Ultimate Edition Arena. I think I said some of that backwards, but that's okay. Macho Man Early Bird Macho Madness Announcers Pack. That offer ends this Friday the 13th at 9 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure you get that. It's like a can't miss item and inclusion in this bundle. And then the overall campaign ends 8/22, August 22nd. Let's make this happen. We're 55% there. And, we can hit Doink. Come on, guys. Let's unlock the clown.
Let's unlock that Doink, man. That Doink is beautiful. Steve, thank you so much. This is a real pleasure to have you on. We appreciate it. Let's unlock the arena.